Hey
Hello.
everybody, it's Metamyther here. I make experimental dark electronic music that explores kind of a different type of structure. As you know, a lot of pop songs, let's say, are sort of this A B structure where it goes from verse to chorus. I'm exploring more a three movement structure, so it goes from A to B to C. So it's really more about taking listeners on a journey, and the songs are a little bit longer than your conventional pop music formats. So that's kind of what I'm doing. I was influenced by classical music, which I played a lot as a kid, and a lot of the sonatas that I would play would have three movements. So it's kind of trying to explore a different kind of structure. Something that I think we take as a foregone conclusion. The verse chorus structure. So just trying to explore something a little bit different musically there.
Okay, thank you very much. Usually I ask this question, but you just jumped. That's perfect. That's perfect.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So thank you. I know. See, this is what I wanted to tell you before, but I think it's funny for the audience because usually I have a problem that with some of the people I talk to, I really have to dig. I have to dig, find things, and with you it was the opposite. You have so many interviews and stuff, and my fun or my shtick is usually that I find out things about the person I'm talking to while I'm talking to them. It's kind of like exploring and really being authentically surprised to find out things. And with you, it's kind of like first I was like, oh, should I read a little bit of the interviews? And I read a little bit, but then I was like, no, I kind of don't want to spoil my surprises. But for you, the tough thing is I might ask you a few questions you have answered 1,000 times already
Oh yeah,
because
that's fine. Yeah.
okay, yeah. So just when you know this, because there was so many. I mean, you're like a public figure already. It's kind of
I don't think so. Not really. I mean, come on.
yeah. Okay, no, but there was a lot. If I would have wanted, I could have really went through a lot of things, and but then I take away the fun for me to find out things. So,
Mhm.
but what I know already is you're a classical trained musician, right?
Yeah.
And in one of the videos, I also saw that you're using your Nord, and I'm also
Yeah.
a user if you see, but
Yeah,
just
the
just for the
Nord Lead
cats.
2X. I mean, come on, like ever since I was a teenager, that was like the synthesizer to get. They were always like super expensive, and
Uh,
we would go into the music stores and we would bring tape recorders, and we would
mhm.
just play on the synthesizer, but we just play like a middle C and sample it, just because we were just
Ah,
teenagers, so we
you were
wanted
one
that
of these
sound.
guys.
Yeah, exactly. No, it
Got
was
it.
just kind of a funny thing. So when I became an adult, I was like, I always had the Nord in my mind. So it's kind of like, I don't know, it's just kind of, fulfilling this kind of teenage desire, I guess, that I had. But the Nord is awesome. That one particularly has like four layers that you can layer on top of each other. And honestly, I haven't used it too much in the recordings. But it's a really great MIDI controller, obviously, as well. But I'm using a lot of like in the box kind of VSTs and stuff like that.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, you're coming from more like a guitar background, right? I
Yes,
mean, I
yeah,
heard some of your stuff, like you were kind of
yeah.
you
You,
dipped
you're more
into the industrial stuff as well, but
Yeah,
yeah.
I'm all over the place. So yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
maybe not talk about me because yeah, it's hard to. But I'm playing bass usually. That's where I'm really coming from. But we're talking about you, so but yeah, thank
Yeah.
you. I dabbled a little bit in music, but compared to you, it's like. Yeah, very simple, because as you said, that you have this triple structure. That's
Mm.
cool, and I have sometimes the single structure, but I don't even have a chorus because I couldn't think of one, so I was just doing a verse, and that's it.
Right, right.
So
Well, it's interesting that you mentioned that because I feel like actually a lot of electronic music is kind of this single structure in a way. I mean, you're kind of bringing in the kick drum and then you're taking it away. You bring in a hi hat and then you take it away after 30 seconds. So it's kind of like it's in a little way that's what I was reacting against, but maybe it's a
mhm.
strong term. But yeah, I don't know. Like I listen to a lot of stuff in electronic music that is kind of this one idea, you know,
Hmm.
and I hear the song
Mm.
playing and I'm like, oh man, it'd be really cool if it went into this direction. But instead, it's just kind of like
Yeah,
bringing in one instrument,
that's a
taking it
good
away.
point. Yeah, that's
Yeah.
a good point because as you might know, I'm also a radio DJ, and I'm always kind of conflicted because I told you in our pre-talk that I'm a more simple person. You know, I like
Yeah.
more simple music. So for me, you know, I can go with that if it's just one verse and that's the song. You know, but I'm I don't know how to really. Sometimes it's fine, you know, if a song is short and something. If you would do it like, you know, one of your songs with 7 minutes or 8 minutes, I would. I mean, I would not really literally, or how you say, I would kill you, you know, because this is when it gets boring, you know.
Mm.
Um,
Yeah.
I mean, you could say when it would be like. How you say, like the monks do, like a chanting, and it kind of gets into a mantra, and so it could be an entrancing in a way, but yeah, if it's too simple and too repetitive, no, it's boring. I wanted to say, so sometimes I'm conflicted when I get music that how should I say it, that I like it, or no, I don't like it because it's so foreseeable. Because I already know the structure. You know, you have this too. That not your music, but I'm pretty sure you can listen to a song for 30 seconds and then you know exactly, okay, and then comes a drop and then comes this. You know, like you
Right.
said, you're rebelling against the normal structure, and I'm kind of absolutely with you. But sometimes, if it's very well made, I actually like it a lot. You know, when for me, it's mostly like the gothic rock songs. You know, they're really formulaic in a way, and so you could say, "Oh man, this is boring," and in a way they are because they're very foreseeable. But I love it. You know, it's kind of maybe it's not that I'm objective anymore because I grew up with like Sisters of Mercy or something, and this
Yeah.
is in a way boring. You know, foreseeable music that just follows the things, but still I like it. So
Well, what do you think about like a song like Bela Lugosi's "Dead"? Right, like super long, and it's
oh,
kind of
I
like
hate it.
it's one.
I
Okay,
hate it. I
no,
hate it. I
that's
hate it.
interesting to kind of like hear where you're coming from with
Mm.
that, right? Because that's it's kind of yeah, it's like an entrancing kind of drone track, right?
And I don't know if you know, you have a very German name, so I'm not really sure where you're coming from. But in Germany we have the Neue Deutsche Welle. You know, was in the 70s and 80s, and it was very boring music. But
Mm.
it had something to it because like with acting, if you reduce your acting and don't do anything, and when you do a little thing with your face, it's a lot. You know, it's much more.
Right,
It's
right.
the difference between clownesque or, you know, being very big and you know, doing big. When you reduce it, and so it's also with the music. If you do very little, a little poof, something makes a big difference. You know, so
Yeah. Are you talking about the translation to that? Is that the German New Wave? Is that what it was, or
I think maybe, yeah, like
and what were some
trio,
bands
da
in that?
da da. Do you remember
Yeah,
this one?
of course. Yeah, it
Trio?
was like in a car commercial.
Ah, yeah, right. We were in a car commercial. Yeah, that's true. So that's kind of Neue Deutsche Welle. It's very
Mm.
simple music. You know, we had this little tour in the beginning,
Hmm.
and then
Is it kind of
da.
synth based or not necessarily?
Not necessary. It's
Okay.
a lot of synth bass stuff, but not necessarily. Um,
And we're
it was
talking
also
like
punk.
70s and 80s,
Yeah,
or
70s and 80s. So, the point I'm trying to make is kind of
yeah.
I, the, the point I'm trying to make is I cannot make a point because there is something for everyone, and this maybe when we bring it back to you is kind of what I love with music anyway. There is no right or wrong. So who
But you
can?
were talking about a bit about sort of the tension between maybe simplicity and complexity. And I mean, honestly, if I have one issue as a musician, it's like making things things way too complex. And I
Mm-hmm.
think like this 3-act structure is a way that I can, put all of my ideas
Mm-hmm.
into one song and for it not to be overwhelming, right? Because it's like if you had one chorus and it had all these tons of ideas, it would be like people are like, where are you?
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
that's I think what you're talking about with the tracks where it's like after 30 seconds you kind of know where it's going, and
Mm-hmm.
it's there's a certain as a musician, I think you have to give the listener something to kind of latch onto, right?
Exactly.
And so a
The
structure
hook.
can be
The
that,
hook.
yeah, or
Yeah.
like perhaps like a genre code, right? Like, okay, like
Mm-hmm.
this genre always is maybe within certain beats per minute, and it tends to use these types of sounds, right? So if you're presenting people with something that's not that, people are kind of lost.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's kind of like maybe the music is between this kind of trance-like state and a structure where there is a structure, but it's a
Yeah.
bit of a longer kind of
Mm-hmm.
duration. And, in a way, you're kind of like letting it take over you,
Mm-hmm.
because you're kind of just like letting it kind of take you on this journey. And you're like, I don't know where you're going, but I'm trusting you to lead me.
No, that's a good point. That's exactly, you kind of have to tread the balance right to give the listener something that he's familiar with, but keep it interesting enough that he's unfamiliar with it. So that
Mm.
uh, that's a good point. That's yeah, a good observation. And with your music, I was listening to I couldn't finish all the songs, of course, because they're quite long. But
Yeah.
they also have, for me, a very cinematic
Mm.
thing. Kind of. I could imagine a movie set to it. Like this kind of very grande themes and stuff. Sometimes simple, but but the simple, like, where your name
Yeah.
comes in quite handy. The meta, there is this meta stage what you put in there. There's more than just the notes you play. There is the space between the notes is also filled with a feeling and with something that grabs the listener. Um,
Yeah, I hear this actually a lot. Like everybody is like, man, you got to do soundtracks for films
yeah.
or video games. Like I hear this all the time, and it's the epic nature, I think, of the breadth of it, and also I think the fact that I use sometimes organic like stringed arrangements. But I think it's also just, yeah, I don't know. It's the instrumental nature of it, right? There's no lyrics, so I think
Hmm.
all these things kind of play into that. I'm not against that. I would love to score
Hmm.
films actually.
Um, what I was wondering as I was listening to your music is, and this is one of the questions I have. This kind of like, what is your target audience if you have one? Because what is hard for me is, I guess you could play this in a club and people could move to it. I wouldn't say it dance because sometimes it's shifting a little bit and stuff. It's kind of like, I don't know, maybe for a Goa rave if you want to chill down. It's So I I don't. And this is not really important. I mean, you make the music you love to do, and this is absolutely fine. Like I said at the beginning, there is no right or wrong. You just do what you want to do. And but as it is a little bit hard to swallow sometimes, if it's so long, um, I guess for you it could be like if you want to write a Japanese haiku, you have only, you got the structure of a haiku. Maybe you should kind of like, let's do a pop song in the Metamyther way, and kind of limit yourself and see what you can come up with, because sometimes limiting yourself is quite liberating, because you cannot overdo it. And this I'm saying after I said that music is freedom and you can do whatever you want to do. So. I Anyway, let's start with one question, because I know
Yeah.
there was a bunch of it. Um,
Yeah.
do you have like
The audience.
a target audience? Let's start with that.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, the way I've kind of thought about it, I've really come around to this question this year, actually, because this is the first year that I've started kind of marketing in a
Hmm.
heavier way in terms of like Facebook and Instagram ads, which we can kind of
And
get into because
lots of
that's its own.
interviews, lots of interviews.
Yeah, but I can probably collate my audience into like there's a lot of independent like electronic labels. Like I'll just give you a couple of them, right? Like Raster Noton, like all anybody who's into those artists, that's my audience.
Hmm.
There's another label called Denavali. I love all of their stuff, and it's just they basically, it's like I should remix the artists on there, or somehow get on a bill with when they're playing a show because that's like totally my people right there.
Hmm.
And then like Planet Mu, is a lot of artists
I
that
think I
are
heard.
really
I
doing
even
some.
heard of this one. Yeah.
Yeah,
Mm.
yeah.
Mm.
It's run by the guy who records as Musique, and
Mm.
he's got another artist on there named Italtech, who
Mm.
super gorgeous, kind of dark, kind of bass music and stuff, really good stuff. So I mean, that's these are the kinds of audiences, and I guess when you listen to kind of more of this stuff, you come across it more. So I mean,
Hmm.
there's tons of artists. Like I have a playlist that's like Metamyther radio, but like I just collected a bunch of artists that I really like. I have another playlist just on my personal Spotify that's just called Darktronics. And it's probably like 1,000 tracks or something like that. So there's tons of this stuff, for sure.
You
So
know what? I'm just I came across. I'm just putting it out there, and if you want, we can do it. Because I got in touch through I'm talking with a lot of people, and some horror punks came to
mm,
me, and this is not my main genre. So I said to them, but they're very active, and the guys in Sweden and stuff, and so I'm gonna get to what I'm gonna tell you. And I was like, yeah, and you're very active and blah 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 and stuff, and so, and yeah, I know this one and this one and this one. It was okay. You know what? Let's do a radio show together, and you give me the music, and I play it, and my goal is, of course, to kind of hand it over to him in the long run, so that he does a horror show, horror punk show on our radio station, and but I'm gonna kickstart it because he's really active and he has a jingle already, and we're gonna do it soon in the next few weeks, and so as you say this, that you have this radio, it was just like if you want and if you're up for it, we can also do a radio show because our radio is going quite strong. We have almost 100,000 listeners per month.
oh wow,
So
that's great.
yeah, it's really
That's a lot.
yeah, it's really a lot. Our radio boss, and then we can also talk about ads and what you can do for, but. Anyway, so if you want, maybe we can discuss it later offline or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, we as you have all this music, if you can, and we have a license, we have a radio license, so we can play whatever we want. So all copyrighted material is fine. So yeah, maybe we can make a thing together, and then when I hand it off to you, and then you have your radio show or something, because this is also a tool, when we can segue into the tools or whatever, on how to reach an audience, and I feel. My show, I guess you have not heard it yet, it's quite mixed bag. So in a way,
Mm.
your stuff would fit in there. I just wouldn't like to play it because it's so long. Because usually
Yeah.
I get like 12 or 13 songs in one show
Mm.
for an hour, and with you, I would like get 5. With the
Well,
horror punks.
the first album had like Blood Brain Barriers, probably only like 5 or 6 minutes, so it's a bit more
Okay.
manageable.
Okay.
But
Oh yeah, this
um,
was the one with the video. You put this one in the video, right?
yeah, it was just
Yeah.
like a little like live performance kind of
Mm-hmm.
thing. I mean, that was pretty much right before the pandemic, I want to say. Like that must have been in December or something like that of 2019, maybe
Mm-hmm.
something, maybe even October. But no, I mean, just talking about, I mean, I don't know about you, but like, I hear the term horror punks
Mm-hmm.
and I'm really excited by that. Right. Like,
Mm-hmm.
because I just haven't heard it before. Right. Because I mean,
It's a
like the
genre.
first time
It's a genre.
No, right,
Okay.
and exactly, and that's
Mhm.
like totally new to me, and I'm like,
Mhm.
okay, what does that sound like? That's super interesting, right? And
It's kind of
that's kind of what I'm talking.
rockabilly. Oh, sorry, go ahead. I'll let
Yeah,
you
yeah,
finish and then I talk.
yeah, yeah. No, so I mean, it's I'm really curious about that, right? Because like you know, I think artists should try to like move into these kinds of spaces where there's not really a lot of genre distinction, right? Because
Hmm.
if you're in a genre of one, yeah, it might be harder to market, but then you've got that entire sector, right? So
Hmm.
it's kind of like when I first heard a band like Death Grips, right, which is kind of like almost like a horror or like punk hip
Hmm.
hop band. I'm like, okay, that's totally
Okay.
different. I love that,
Hmm.
or like, so yeah, I don't know. It's just kind of like, I would really like to hear like what would like dissonant bossa nova sound like, right?
Well,
Or something like that. Or what
yeah.
would, dub influence with, yeah, kind of like pop punk be. Yeah, I don't know. It's like there's
Hmm.
so many things that haven't been done. They just haven't been explored. I think it's like it's so open. I mean, I'm kind of going off on a little bit of a
Yeah, no,
tangent here, but
that's
like,
perfect. But see,
yeah.
this is exactly what I mean. Music is absolutely open. I just for myself, I realized I cannot. I have a I, I like certain genres more than others, but
Mm,
of course, I have a lot a love for a lot of things, but I realized I kind of have to be a little bit more focused on, because otherwise I would be all over the place. My playlist is all over the place, the radio
yeah.
show is all over the place, and that's fine because this is me, it's kind of
Hmm.
reflecting me. But so but when I realized I cannot take care of everything, and that's why I said to this guy, okay, you get the music, I play it, and then later on you take the radio show over, and with you I could see the same. I mean, if you're up for it, um, one thing I just realized, what's if you're talking about marketing or something, and I know your music, and I know it doesn't apply to you, but one thing I learned this, as a radio DJ when I get sent music, is I'm always very wary about the term experimental, because
Mm,
experimental often means some kids who don't know shoot. Let's keep it PG-13, and
yeah.
just throw together some horrible music, and shake it and throw it out, and then it's experimental because it doesn't really genre defying, and it doesn't really can fit because it's shit. Okay, now I
Mm,
said it, sorry. Anyway, but you
uh,
know what I mean. So that's
R-rated.
sometimes a little bit the problem with being in the experimental bracket. It's cool, and
100%.
yeah.
To me, it's almost like experimental has kind of been co-opted actually, because like in a live context, it literally means like the performance is an experiment. Like
Hmm.
the performers don't know where they're going. Like it's an improvisation. So in terms of that, I guess jazz would be like an
Hmm.
experimental music, right?
Yep.
Um, like the
But
kind of stuff
even
that
jazz has rules. Even jazz has
shit,
some
yeah.
rules, so it's not. Yeah.
But just to put a kind of finer point on it, like the blood brain barrier
Hmm.
performance that I did, for example, on the YouTube, that was not really experimental because I was kind of playing along to the track.
Hmm.
So, in the past, like when I've done live performances, it's always like, well, if the studio version is 7 minutes long, then the live version would be 7 minutes long. And I kind of just play instruments on top of that. Right.
Hmm.
So recently I started playing around with, like a true live kind of more experimental thing where I could, lay into a section for 8 bars or 16 bars longer if I wanted to
Hmm.
before going on to the next one. So sort of every performance is more of an experiment in the sense that, maybe there's chance and randomness built into it a little bit.
And
But
that's
I mean,
that's very important. Because
yeah,
this is, as I talk with a lot of electronic artists, and it's either they make it completely on the fly,
yeah,
or they have backing tracks. And I'm
right.
I'm fine with both, as
Hmm.
it's when it comes with performance, but with a backing track, of course, I don't have to tell you, it's 7 minutes and 10. It's always 7 minutes and 10. And for a live show, it can work if you have like a dark wave artist, when we're standing still behind the microphone and just like, whoa, don't do
Right.
much. It's perfectly fine for them. But if you have more, I don't know, moving stuff going on, then it's can be a death sentence, because it's like it's really
Yeah.
stale.
Yeah,
So
definitely. I mean, this is something that, I just wrote about this for an essay for this anthology, but basically that's been a huge criticism and I think a very valid one of
mhm,
electronic music, where, since the beginning, it's been laptops and stuff. So people are like, oh, well, he's probably just checking his email, right? Because they're staring into the laptop. So it's
mhm,
super important for me to have a performative aspect there.
mhm,
So that's where the synthesizer, of, playing parts or twiddling knobs at least comes into play. Like I think you have to have something like that. And,
mhm.
other artists have chosen to do video projections and stuff like that. So, I mean, just it has to be a spectacle to a certain degree, right? I mean, there has to be some sort of live element playing,
Exactly,
going
because
on.
that's a good point, because of when you kind of pervert the name live, because it's kind of like, yeah, just
Yeah.
like hit
It's
play
a
and
DJ
then
set.
yeah, and even a DJ does some live stuff, so I wouldn't say, that was the funny thing, as the first time I was called a radio DJ, because for me a DJ is somebody who also creates and really think. For me, I'm just kind of, the next song is and then I play it. So
You play it.
that's a DJ. Yes, it's kind of like an old school radio DJ. I'm a presenter. I'm more like a
Right.
presenter. So a DJ is for me somebody who mixes tunes together and really has a smooth things, and I know, and for me it's like, okay, this one has 120 beats per minute and the next one has 93, and I just play it after. I don't care about that. So. But this is just a definition thing. But
Yeah. Or it's almost like tastemaker in a way, right?
yeah, I mean, I'm in the comfortable position that I just play the music I like, and it's, and if you don't like it, you don't have to listen to my show. So easy for me. So it's
So what was the decision that you made that you were like, I'm going to start a radio show? Did you think of that in parallel with your, I mean, obviously you were going to play, the stuff that you were making at some point, right? In your
in the
show. So,
beginning. Actually, I didn't. Because
oh,
I was so like, I don't wanna do it. It was really for the love of music. But then I really realized, I'm having my own show, and then it came a little bit like, oh yeah, I can use this as a promotional tool, and so it got bigger and bigger, and I first had it here on my local radio station. And when I found these guys online here, where I'm now, Radio Dark Tunnel, and I met with them. They're Germans. I mean, the boss is German, but we have people from all over the world. And yeah, and then it became kind of, it became a nice thing to reach out to bands, because you're more, how should I say, you're more taken serious when you have something to offer. That's the cool thing for me. I can say, oh, you want to talk to me? I have a radio show, and I can play your music, and I can put you in my
100%.
playlist, and
That's great. Yeah.
hello, hello. So yeah,
Yeah.
and,
It's
and
almost like you're talking about like differentiating yourself a little bit more from every other artist who, they're just slamming music out there, trying to get it out there. Whereas,
mhm,
yeah, I like that too, because it's like, especially now, after the pandemic, it's like we have to all find out different streams of not only getting our music out there, but also like potentially monetizing it and
mhm,
so on. Yeah.
mhm. Yeah, and yeah, and also, for me, this is a hobby, and I really enjoy it, and I like to connect with people, and yes, it benefited, of course, me as well. As Miguel Modash, I was talking with a band from LA, and they invited me to their virtual tour. I was opening, the European leg of a virtual tour and stuff, and. And other things happens. I found a guy in Norway where I make music with now, and so it's cool. I love it. I have to be a little bit careful not to do too much, because now it got to the tipping point where I really have to be more, okay, pump the brakes, because I have a life, I have a job, I have a family, I have other things I have to take care of. But I love it, and I will continue doing it, and it's slowly, it's always going up, more viewers, more subscribers, and whatever. that's really really fun. I love it, and it's a nice promotional tool, and it's pretty cool to reach out to people I'm interested in, and getting to know them. And as you know, I'm more. You're a little bit the exception here because I'm talking with a lot of people who are like, goths, and we have, face paint and so it's fun for me to look behind their mask and see who's, because there are people like you and me. Of course, everyone knows that, but we have a strong image, and so it's cool to peek behind. I have a very big guy on the hook. Let's see, should not talk about before I really have him wheeled in, but it will be fun because he has a mask and stuff, and it will be interesting to talk with him.
Yeah.
So
No, it sounds great, man. I mean, it sounds like you're doing exactly what you want to do. It's awesome.
yeah, and now I'm getting so okay, this sounds bad, but big, that I told you with the horror punks, I want to help them to kickstart the thing, but then I want to hand it over. I'm thinking like the most I'm doing is free shows for them, because it's not kind of my oeuvre. It's not kind of my. I like it, but for me, and when you come in, so I can make a segue to you, because for me, punk, I don't mind punk, but usually punk is like, okay, the first song is really fast, and the next song is really fast, and the third song is really fast, and then I'm like, okay, got it. Yeah, you're angry, and it's fine, it's cool. It's if you're young and you want to jump around and put out all your energy and push people around in the mosh pit, cool. But from a musical perspective, it's getting boring quite fast. This is not all of them, of course. Like the Offspring, for example, when you have different kind of songs, and you can really have a cool set. But most of the punks are just like straightforward and always, 180 miles per hour and then and then we can hand it over to you, because you're doing not that. So
yeah, no, I think this is really interesting. Like I think this is a big challenge with a lot of artists. Like they tend to make almost the exact same song,
they're
and
copying
like over
themselves.
and over again.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. Yeah.
Like there's a few bands that do not do this. Like Radiohead does not really do this, right? Like they're like a really good example of a band that like pushes themselves and like is like, okay, let's really try to make something new. Like every album sounds really different, and sometimes songs within that. There's a Japanese band called Lark on Seal, which is French for rainbow.
Okay.
But their one album, it's like they have so many different styles of songs. Like it's crazy. They have like a Red Hot Chili Peppers style song, and then kind of more like a punky one, and then one with like orchestral instrumentation. I mean, it's wild. It's like it shows a complete mastery of what they're doing, because it's like the songs sound different. And I mean, like industrial and stuff like that. I feel like KMFDM, they're making the same song. Do you know what I mean?
It's,
Like
it's true. I like KMFDM, but
I do
you're
too.
absolutely right. I often, when I have them in my private playlist, in the songs you like, then I often skip them, because when not again, because it's kind of so. Yeah, it's this is what I meant in the beginning, that they're quite formulaic. But I like it, it's okay. With them, it's okay, but it's kind of, if somebody else would do it, then they sound like KMFDM, it's exactly the same formula. So I'm not really without bias, of course. I'm a person. So
in a way, it's good because KMFDM sounds like themselves, right? So that's kind of amazing.
Like AC/DC or something,
Right, yeah. It's like they've really honed in on what their sound is, and they deliver that. So I mean, again, like you were saying, it's like there's no one way to go about this. It's really good that a band might have a very concrete sonic identity. But yeah, I kind of like it when artists move around a little bit and try different things, even if it doesn't work.
Yeah, as I'm a little bit older, I grew up with Fate No More, and this was this was a eye opener for me. This was kind of like, oh, every song was different. we had a kind of metalish song, and then we had a rock song, and we had a pop song, and and I was like, oh, you can do that, and that's really. I really enjoyed that the mix of it, and this is kind of what I'm all about. If you listen to my playlist or if you listen to my radio show, there's from pop to metal, death metal. There's everything in. Not
Yeah.
everything. It depends on what I get. It's also what people send me. But I try to mix it. And this is. Tough maybe for people to hear, but slowly getting more and more get interested in it and understand what I'm doing here. But I just want to I get bored easily. Let's put it this way. It's
Yeah, yeah.
maybe a bad thing, and maybe I'm so I'm already a Spotify generation kind of person that it's hard for me to
I don't know. I
stay
don't know if
with
it's a
one thing.
bad thing or a good thing. I think it just is. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah,
It's
but
just,
yeah, exactly. I can,
it's
it's
not a
not like
bug, it's a feature,
yeah, you cannot change it anyway. It's kind of
Yeah.
like you like what you like, and that's neither bad or nor good. It's just kind of like how you deal with it, and but
Yeah,
see,
I think there's so much like more cross pollination as well. Like I feel like in the 90s you maybe had a little bit more of like a siloing of like, you had the AC/DC kids, and then you had, the
that's
Megadeth
true.
people were
Yeah.
different than the Metallica people. It's like
Hmm.
there was a fine line. But
the
now,
pop
I mean,
the
I
poppers
think
and
everybody.
the mods and all this.
Yeah,
There
yeah.
was there was
Right,
so
right,
yeah. Oh, you like that? Then you're not my kind of person. You like
right,
or you
right.
have like here in Germany with soccer teams or something.
Sure.
What's your soccer
Yeah.
team? No, you're not my friend. It's really
Right.
stupid. But it was the same there. Yeah. This
But
is
now you
true.
just have so much more cross pollination. I mean, everybody's listening to everything. I feel
Yep.
like, it's
Yep.
so.
That's true. That's
And
this.
that,
I really
I
like
guess we
that.
have streaming and Napster to thank for that, so it's all good, I
Hmm.
think.
Yeah. It's kind of. I learned this in my talks. Genre fluidity.
Yes.
Genre
There
fluid.
you go.
This also means nothing, kind of like
Right, right,
okay,
right.
but it kind of it's be free basically, and
Yeah.
it's fine with, and I just have to kind of. I guess my radio show or the things I get there, this kind of made me a little bit more hardened to things because otherwise I get too much. In the beginning I was really
Mhm.
opening for everything, and I was like I was swamped with stuff, and then you have to sift through a lot of not so good music as well. Not just that,
Yeah.
but also people kind of like. I guess you can also maybe say something about people today think oh, I bring this single out, and then I get famous and stuff. You have to do the groundwork because you said it earlier that this is the first year you kind of focus on okay, doing interviews, getting out there, doing ads, and kind of showing. Getting traction, basically, not just putting things out there and let it do its course and stuff. And I have seen this a couple of times with really good bands, that we kind of had a big splash and bloop, we were gone, So
Mm. Yeah. I mean, I think it's like, I think in the beginning, a lot of artists are just like, okay, I'm just going to put it out there and then the internet will find it and, I'll
mhm,
get my fan base. But it's just really not the case, like, you have to really kind of go after that audience. And, for
mhm.
me, my strategy was running Facebook and Instagram ads. And this kind of gets back to our earlier question
Yep.
on
What's what's
marketability.
what's your audience exactly? Because then you have to kind of
Yeah.
you have to give them where to target, So
Yeah, exactly. And it's actually tough because the labels that I mentioned before, none of those
mhm,
artists are indexed by Facebook and Spotify. You basically
mhm,
have to have a large enough fan base or whatever for Facebook's algorithm to pick you up and kind of index you and sort of know what type of audience this is, right?
mhm.
So, I mean, but there's really big bands that are not indexed by Facebook. Like, for example, Flying Lotus, who I feel
I
like,
know Flying Lotus, yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. And a really good example, by the way, of like someone who really is a genre, talk about genre fluidity, or he straddles a lot of genres,
Yeah, I
right?
don't know. He's a genre by itself, kind of.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. He sounds like himself, right?
Mhm.
But he's, I would say he's probably, I don't know his numbers, right? But he's probably got millions of
Okay,
Spotify playlists
we can
or
check. We
Spotify
can
listeners.
check it
Yeah,
out. I have Spotify on here because I
yeah.
usually check a little bit.
But
Flying.
anyway, like, but he is not indexed by Facebook, which I think is like really crazy, right? Because maybe he's such a genre to himself that Facebook doesn't understand his audience in relation to everybody else, right? Compared to, let's say, like a Nine Inch Nails or
Oh
something
wow,
like
yeah,
that
he's
is
really big.
indexed, right?
Wow,
Yeah, yeah.
1.5 million monthly listeners,
Right. Which,
and
in the scheme of things is maybe not actually that much. I mean, obviously
mhm,
I would love to have that, but I mean,
mhm.
there are artists like, if you look up Nine Inch Nails, they probably have, 100 million or listeners or something like that,
No,
right?
no,
So
don't. I think we're
maybe.
like 8 million or something. We're not
Oh,
bad.
okay.
We're not bad. We're 3 million. 3 million.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, right. So it's like, Nine Inch Nails is indexed, but Flying Lotus isn't, which is to
Mm.
me very
It's
strange,
weird.
right?
Yeah, it's weird. Yeah.
Yeah. So,
Mm.
and it is kind of random like that. So basically when do you have any experience with like Facebook, Instagram stuff at all?
Jein. Oh, sorry. This is German. This means yes
Nine
and
is no.
yes and no at the same time.
Oh, Yine.
Because I
I
said
love
jein.
that.
Yeah, it's because I back
That's
to,
great.
to what I'm doing is I got in touch with a person. I should not talk too much about him because he wants to be more private. Um,
Right.
he has a promotional agency in UK,
Uh,
and because I for some reason I started talking with him, and he said, "Oh yeah, you have to do this and that," because I was talking about how can I grow my playlist, because I really think I have something where I just want to increase the audience and to get some more listeners to it. And he said, "Oh, do this and that, and you have to list yourself." And I was like, ah, I'm having so much to do with my radio show and with this and that. Can you not do it for me? And so basically, I have a guy in the UK, and he helps me by doing that. So uh,
nice.
and he is exactly doing what you said. He's like, okay, he checks my playlist and say, okay, it's mostly, I don't know. Not so much anymore, but in the beginning was a lot of Rammstein in it and stuff. So I'm
Hmm.
I'm checking for Rammstein, and then the ads get. We did Facebook ads, and we also now I think we do only Instagram, and so yeah. So in a way, I cannot. He mentioned hype machine or hyper machine. What
Uh,
is
Hyped
um,
it, right?
hyped it? Yeah, it's something like
Yeah.
this. So this
Yeah.
should go.
I use that.
Mm.
I use
Oh,
that.
okay. So you know already about it. So you know already more about it than me because, um, one. This is kind of one of my strengths is, um, what I told you before. I know a lot of things, but very shallow, and I
Right.
also
Right. Right.
know a lot of people, and I'm more like, okay, if you are better at something than me, today with YouTube, everyone can do everything. There is a tutorial for, I don't know, clipping your nails, if you need it, whatever.
Right.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
uh, but I decided,
Well, yeah. I mean, if you want to know anything about that, I mean, you can ask me. I mean, I've been running ads since probably middle of February,
okay,
and I'm, for me, it was a bit of a steep learning curve. But I mean, I could share what I know, if you
oh,
want to ask.
if you want, I mean, maybe
Yeah. Yeah.
that's
Sure.
also worthwhile for the audience,
For sure.
because you're doing quite well with because you get this right if I say it. You're very niche. So for you, it's hard to reach. But you're doing well. You have 500 monthly listeners, and you have 170 followers. So you're doing something right. That's not that easy to accomplish, especially
Yeah.
with
I mean,
such long
most
songs.
like all of that came within the last few months. Also,
Hmm.
like before that, I mean, I had like 10 monthly listeners or something like that. So it's
Hmm. So
just
so
as a comparison, it wasn't like I had 300 and now I have
mhm.
500. Yeah.
I mean, one thing I can tell you is I joined this how is it, this grassroots movement, NAS. This is New Artist Spotlight. Just check it out, newartistspotlight.org. And what they
Okay.
do is they put you in a playlist, and they tell others to stream it as well. So basically, they lift, how we say, the tide lifts all the ships. So we kind of help each other. Just check it out. They're for real, and it's free. That's the
Wow.
good thing, because they are not taking any money. And also, what I told you about the horror punks, I met them through there. They were
Nice.
really, really active there. And
Great.
so I was like, okay, let's do something for the community and, help them out. And I will also do some videos with another guy from Sweden about how to do a video on a budget and stuff. So anyway, I can honestly say, I'm part of it. I cannot do as much as I want there because, I have time limitations, but they're for real, and they don't take any money. So basically, you have nothing
That's
to
great.
lose. And
Yeah, that's awesome.
yeah, it's a grassroots movement. It's of course mostly smaller artists, but we help each other. And one of the guy who founded it, he got like 100,000 streams or something
Oh,
and
wow.
stuff. So I mean, you will get some help and some traction through them as well.
That sounds great. Yeah, thanks.
Yeah. So
Yeah, but is there anything you want to know about
exactly,
ads? I mean,
I wanted to
yeah.
kind of now back to you. Yeah. Honestly, I know myself well enough, so it's interesting. But I know I will ask someone else to do it for me, because I'm kind of like, oh man, there's so much. And you're a musician as well, and you're in the game for making music and for playing, I mean, at the moment we have a pandemic, so it's the perfect timing for getting, into learning how to do these things. But I'm more like, it would be interesting to know, but just that you don't take it the wrong way. I most likely will not do it because then I would be, tomorrow I have this talk with my friend, and we're talking about the NFTs, and then on Sunday I have to shoot some teaser videos for the stuff we do on New Artist Spotlight. So I'm already on Monday I have a talk with a horror punk guy. On Tuesday is my radio show. I'm
You're at the brim.
Yeah, exactly. So
Are you gonna get into NFTs? Are you thinking about that, or you just want to know more about it?
honestly, so okay, I'm not so much into clickbaiting stuff, but this is kind of like a clickbaiting thing, because not really. I will talk about it in honest, and I'm 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 don't know enough about it to say yes or no yet. But I have my friend, and as he's into blockchain, and he knows all these things, and he can really explain it quite well. I have a radio show with him for 3 years already, where we talk about internet security things, how to surf the internet and what to kind of the downfalls and stuff. So that's why I know, he's a very knowledgeable person. It's in German, unfortunately, so it's not so much for you. I mean, if you can speak German, of course.
Ein bisschen.
Ein bisschen. Okay. Yeah, I thought so.
Yeah.
I told you, you have a German sounding name, so I'm pretty sure there's something. Anyway, the point is, I heard it in the news so often, and a lot of people talking about it, and so I just kind of, in this way, I'm jumping on the wagon, to be absolutely honest, because people are interested in. So I think, why not making a video and learning something about it? And as I'm undecided what I should think about it, I will hopefully learn during the talk. I mean, I will know. I will find out what there is to find out, and then I will make a decision if I will get into this or not. At the moment, I don't think so, but it's just a new thing, and it's hyped up, and this is what I'm thinking at the moment. But I will find out, and I will really, basically, I'm getting an expert to tell me what it is, and then I can make an informed decision. So that's
Yeah, I
my
mean, I
goal.
think it's a really cool space. Number one, I think there's very little risk or like
Yep.
there's very little risk to the artist. Like, you know, your buy-in or whatever is like you just put one of your works up on auction, and if nobody buys it, it's like, well, you're kind of where you were at before, you know. And it's also just like, you know, a new potential way to actually monetize your music, you know, where it's like, you know, if you get, what is it, like I think you need 1,000 streams before you get $1 on Spotify or something like that. You
Yeah,
know, it's
yeah,
like
like you get 0.00 something. Yeah.
yeah. So, I mean, this is, you know, it's a totally new space. I will say, like, all of the NFTs are kind of, they have a timestamp on them. So if somebody is kind of jumping on the bandwagon, you know, it's going to be dated as such that you're getting into it in May of 2021 as opposed to December of 2020, let's say, right? So I just think in this space, as people are bidding on it, they like the earlier shit, right? Because that's kind of like, oh, these people were around before it became cool, kind of thing.
Yeah,
So
yeah. No,
just one thing to think on. But
that's
I mean,
a
I
good
would jump
point.
in. Why the hell not? You know?
Yeah, exactly. I want to find out. But for anyway, I cannot. I can't say anything about it right now because I know too little. But in a way, I'm thinking it's counterintuitive a little bit because you're limiting your work. And I could imagine, you know, that you can make a still from your video and set, you know, and it's then art or whatever, you know, it's limited to this thing. But what I mean with counterintuitive, usually artists, and you have heard it before, like there is even pay to play or something. They want exposure. They want the opposite. You know, there is a reason why Spotify is so well liked, because you have a chance potentially to find millions of listeners. You know, if you play the algorithm right, or if you do you know, good ads, like we wanted to talk about actually, and stuff. So. This is a little bit counterintuitive to my perception, because usually artists want exposure and want people to have a lot of it, because a normal artist in these days makes money through you know, concerts or t-shirt sales or something, and this means that a lot of people know of him, and then he comes to the, you know, not in the pandemic of course, but if he comes to the city and he plays there, and I don't know, 100 people pay, and he gets like a cut of a, you know, from the club he plays in. And so, you know, this is kind of how you make money in these days as an artist. So being well known is better. And so I think for a small artist, also, if you make an NFT, not many, because nobody knows you. Who would bid on it? So it's the same here. You need exposure first, in a way.
Yeah. But I mean, you know, you kind of only need that one super fan, right? You know, that's the thing.
The millionaire.
So it's,
yeah, I need one millionaire, and then, you know, when I'm done, you know, thank you. Yeah, that's a good idea.
you know, or I mean, you know, or somebody who's not a millionaire and is willing to pay $300, you know, and like you could put, you know, I don't know, like I feel like honestly artists could afford to be a little less precious with their stuff, right? I mean, NFTs, you could literally do a 30-second demo of a song that's sitting on your hard drive, you know, and that could be the thing. It doesn't necessarily have to be, you know, your best-selling single, although it could be, but it's also like not really exclusive, right? Because it's a digital artwork, and the song's still going to be on Spotify, and you retain all the rights as the artist. It's just the original thing of this, you know.
Okay. So
it's not, you know,
okay.
I mean, I know for a fact that you must have at least 20 or 50, you know, half finished songs on your hard drive, right? I mean, this is
you were spying on me.
yeah, no, just because it's every musician, right? So you know, dust off something that you're not going to use for that, and it could get recontextualized as something else, and you know, if you make $300 off that, that's probably more than you made off Spotify in an entire year, right?
That's
so
absolutely true. Yeah, no, you're
you know,
right.
so it's kind of.
I will find out. You know, I have a talk tomorrow, and then and then
it's a really interesting space. You know, I mean, just like a lot of other things, it's just, you know, the cards are being shuffled, and we're kind of rethinking ways of doing things. Now, I personally think it might be a little bit of a fad, but we'll see. We'll see. You know, I mean, who can know?
Exactly. Yeah, that's fine, and you're absolutely right. And sometimes if you know, it helps. You know, if you're an early adopter and you get on board early, but if you jump of everything, uh, I, I was laughed at recently. I mean, laughed at, online, because I didn't know. This is a while back now already. What Clubhouse is,
Right.
because I never had.
Well, that's a brand new thing too. I mean, come on, it's been around for like a couple months. So
Yeah, but I never heard of it, and I was checking my LinkedIn, and then there was, and this is the new Clubhouse, and this is blah blah blah. Huh? What is this? And people were laughing at me virtually, but this comes back to this: you cannot be everywhere at once, and you don't. This is where I'm saying, even if you tell me, see, we can get back to you now finally, how to do these ads and how to do that. I most likely will ask my friend in the UK to do it for me, because he's so much, he does it every day. This is basically his job, and so for me it's kind of like, I'm more like,
after we're done this call, give me his contact, because I'm like,
okay.
I'm sure somebody could optimize what I'm doing too. It's like, I'm just, I don't.
Yeah, I'm not.
As I
I'm not
started learning this thing, I was like, I know this is somebody's job. Like, somebody
Mhm.
does this, and like
Mhm.
me jumping into this space. I mean, I honestly, it became quite boring around my friends, because it was all I would talk about. Like, oh, I'm running these ads. Like, it's like, I don't know. For
Oh,
my friends, it's
he
kind of like, what are
again.
you talking
He
about? Why?
again.
It's like the
Yeah.
least interesting thing to them.
hmm Mm. No, but this is also, it comes in a way, you're doing the right. I mean, not in a way, you're doing the right thing, because this comes with a territory. It's like what we
Mm.
said before. In the past, it was like in the 70s or something. You needed a label to get your music out. This was how it was. And then the label would do all this footwork and the groundwork, and put it to stores and whatever, and got it into the radio show. And today, it's very liberating. Everyone can do it. The problem is, everyone does it. So you have to really stand above the noise, about the avalanche of music that comes out every day. There is tons of new music and stuff. And then you really got to cherish the people who come to you and flock to you, and tell other people what, oh, I like this, check it out, and da da da. And so it's, word of mouth is helping a little bit, but sometimes you have to kind of push people. And today, with Netflix and all the distractions we have, I'm I'm so grateful for every listener, every viewer I get, because
Yeah.
it means he was watching this over TikTok, or what he
Yeah.
could watch
Yeah.
a cat video somewhere,
Yeah.
and so I'm really honestly grateful for it, and surprised that people are liking what I'm doing, and so. You can also be, there is a market for everyone. You just have to find it, and so this is kind of back to the ad thing. But to end my point is, I know what I'm good at. I'm good at talking with people. I'm good at, once we can do it again. I'm like a performer. In German, you would say I'm a stage pick. We call it eine Rampensau. So I
Right.
like to be on stage. I thrive on the energy I get from people. So
Yeah.
I grow bigger and stuff. So this is my strength, and I can sing a little bit and I can play a little bit, but this is not. I'm not a good musician. Compared to you, I'm. I can play a few notes in sync.
Right.
But what I'm saying, what I wanted to say is, I know my strengths and I know my weaknesses, but one of my strengths is to connect with people, and then I use this strength to get better at other things, because I'm just asking them to help me out with things. So, and yeah, I will ask my friend if but he's very busy. So don't
Of
be
course,
up.
because he's probably pretty good, right,
Yeah,
at what he does.
he
So I'm
is.
sure
He
everybody's
is.
setting him
He
up.
is. So I'm really lucky to have him help me. So don't be mad at me if he doesn't get in
Oh
touch
yeah,
with
no, I
you.
mean, yeah,
So.
that's no big deal. I mean, what's interesting is like, what you were talking about with like, like, people could be watching TikTok instead of listening to you. It's
Mm-hmm.
like, it seems to me you've really thought about what you want to do with the music thing and the radio thing, and you're playing to your strengths, and you're also being authentic with the kind of stuff that you're putting out there, right? So I think that's what is so electrifying about this whole thing. It's like, as long as you're authentic,
Hmm.
and then people respond in kind to that they really like it. I mean, it's like the best thing, like,
Exactly, and this
yeah.
is this is also liberating for me because I
Mhm.
don't have
You
I
don't
don't
have to
have a
pander to the sounds of the day, right? You don't have to do a
exactly
fucking
exactly
trap track and,
yeah, and this would be so tough for me to. I mean, this is my wife. She likes K-pop, and sometimes she asks me, "Oh, what do you think of this
why
song?"
don't you
And then
do
I kind of
K-pop?
and yeah,
Or is you
she's
like, well, you could do G-pop, German,
yeah.
like
Thanks.
in a K-pop style.
Don't
See, that's
no
what I'm
don't
talking about. Like, that's a different genre that has not been done.
no
That would be
no
crazy, like,
no
not
no.
saying, not saying for you, but
I close the door. Nobody should listen to that. I cut this out. No, don't give her suggestions. This is not where I want to go to. No, but the point is, so I
but I'm just
learned.
saying that genre is open to
No,
people if
thank
they
you,
are
thank you
into
very
that,
much.
right?
Thank you very much. No, it's not open for me. Yeah, this is
Fine.
playing to my strengths. No, but what
Yeah.
I wanted to say is, I learned, of course. I mean, basically, music is great, and I love all kinds of music. For me, it's also the distinction. Even I don't like ska, for example, but if I
Mhm.
see a live ska band, I would dance because it's so good. And but I would not sit at home and listen to it. That's my thing. It was not my favorite genre. And so with K-pop, I learned like I can say, okay, yeah, we can dance very well, and oh yeah, the harmony is quite good, and and stuff. So I'm kind of picking apart the song and find something good in it. So I can always say something good, but um, uh, I know it's not my thing. So that's I don't know where we came to this part.
Yeah, I don't know where, where
I
it's
I
like, where
wanted
are
to
we
say
going, right?
something else
Yeah, yeah.
anyway. Um, uh, oh, my strength. This is
Right.
um, I know what and I got a lot of criticism for my video podcast we are doing currently here as well. I talked with some bigger artists, like this hacking order and pecking order, you would say. Um,
Right.
and they checked out my stuff and they said, your quality is not good enough, and if you cut this segments a little bit, and if you take out the A's and
They said
O's
that to
and stuff,
you?
yeah. And I've said,
Huh.
guys, I get it. You can always do things better, but I'm a one-man army. I'm doing this on my free time. I'm doing this because I love it, and this is the only thing I can do. Remember what I told you in the beginning. Don't tell me anything you wouldn't tell any other stranger, because it's for me it's tough to cut out things, because then I have to go here and and then you have to re-render the whole thing and stuff. I want the conversation, take it and just throw it out to YouTube. So, but this is also when again one of the strengths of it, because it's authentic, as you said. This is not. I'm not. Just today we talked at my workplace, online. We talked about being authentic, and you have certain roles in your life. I'm a husband, I'm a father, I'm a lover, I'm all these different things, and as I see it. Here, I'm the radio host or the talk host. We're chatting here about things, so I'm just amplifying one of my many parts I have of it. So I'm authentic, but I'm more. I'm not telling you about. Sometimes I'm sad and I don't want to talk, and sometimes I just sit there and just being a little bit quiet, because this
Right.
would be the wrong part for this role. So you get my drift. It's kind of so. My point is, sorry to talking too much. Um, um, this I know where my strength is, and
Yeah.
I rather want to be stronger with what I'm good at than becoming mediocre with something that I'm not good at, but what I could be better at. So, but my strength helped me to find people I can kind of hand over some things where I need help with. I have people who do my artwork and who help me with the sound production, and so that's good. That's cool with me. I know where I can shine, and I don't need to be good at everything. And there's a saying for this master of none.
Jack of all trades, master of none.
Exactly, jack of all trades and master of none. This is okay for my conversational things, because what I told you, I know a lot of things, not really deep, but I heard of them. We can talk NFTs, for example. I don't know shit about NFTs, but I know what they are, and I know what you can do with it, but not very much. So yeah. Anyway, this is my strength. So after all this, back to you. Sorry for going on, but this is exactly what I like. What I told you in the beginning. I like a conversation, and you kind of you're a cool dude, so we can talk about whatever comes into our mind.
Yeah, we're just going.
And back to this TikTok thing. Surprisingly, people like to listen to it. And it is later on my video podcast become podcasts on Spotify and iTunes and Google, and people listen to it because I see the stats, they're going up and up. So it's cool. Somehow it resonates with people that I'm just doing what I like to do.
Yeah, I mean, personally for me, like I've really thought about kind of my strengths and kind of like what I'm sort of good at, and I know the areas where I need to improve, and it's just kind of like leaning into this kind of stuff that you're making. I mean, in the beginning it was just kind of like this kind of stuff started to just come out. I had actually like not been doing music for like a while, and I got back into it, and it was like the dam burst, like all these ideas just kept coming out, and I was just like, well, I have to kind of lean into this. I have to like pursue this. Before, a couple of years ago, I was more doing writing, and before that I was doing like video stuff, which I'm still doing video stuff. But yeah, that's kind of where creativity was kind of like it. What became clear to me was that they're all like, creativity is like the same energy, and it's like it doesn't matter, like you could be devoting it to like a different medium. Like for example, you're creative in terms of your radio pursuits, right? And then you're creative in terms of the musician stuff.
Exactly.
They're different things, but they're all part of the same creative like energy or seed,
the spark, or whatever you want to call it. That's a good point, because I also see it a little bit. It comes in waves. At the moment, I do a lot of this because I enjoy it a lot. I might get fed up after a while, and then do some other things. And at the moment is the perfect thing because Germany is in lockdown. There's nothing else I can do anyway. I cannot play anywhere. I can, I haven't been in the rehearsal space for a few months because there's no reason to really go there. Why should I rehearse for what and stuff? I sometimes play a little bit and sing, of course, and stuff, but and this is this phase. But once it opens up again, I think then I will try to get more concerts. Let's maybe talk about your concerts, because you already started a little bit with how you do it with live, or would we want to finish about the ad things first? We started.
I mean, you said you were going to use you're going to use that guy, so I don't know if it's even worth going into that.
But for the audience, it would be interesting because the audience doesn't have a guy to send things. But yeah, no, maybe let's talk about your music, because and how you want to present it live. Because just to finish my little thing here, I think there will be a live things when I do more live concert things again, and this will be fun. But I will always continue doing what I'm doing. I always did radio. I always like to talk with people and to connect, and so it's basically me. I don't have to change me, and it will always be like that. But sometimes a little bit more, and sometimes a little bit less. So that's basically it.
Yeah, I mean, in terms of like live, I had really just kind of started moving into that space as a way to, grow my New York City fan base where I'm based. Basically, I produce everything in Ableton, and then I get the stems of the mixed and mastered stuff from my engineer, and I lay in the stuff, there's basically like three main layers, if you will. One
Mm-hmm.
is like a purely playthrough track, and then I can have global effects. Like let's say I have like a filter, which is like filtering, low pass filter if I want to
Mm-hmm.
just remove all the high frequencies at one point in the track or whatever, stuff like that. Or
Mm-hmm.
like I could reverb the entire track, um, and then so that's just one layer. That's just a single audio stem that I maybe combine the drums and maybe the bass to that, right? The
Mm-hmm.
accompaniment tracks. Then there's a effects layer where it's another audio stem, but it's getting different effects than the master effects, right? So let's say I want to like distort that layer, right? I don't want
Mm-hmm.
to necessarily do that to the drums and bass, right? So there's a different layer for that. And then
Mm-hmm.
the third is the playback layer. This is where, in like a 7 or 8 minute long track, I might actually be playing 5 main parts or something like that. So I have a chain selector set up in Ableton, which basically
Ah,
loads every single instrument.
so
And
you
then let's
can,
say if I'm
okay.
playing,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, in the first
Mm.
2 minutes, if I'm playing a piano, then it will just switch to that automatically using automation, so that no matter what, I'm going to be playing the right instrument, because that's obviously key.
That's good because yeah, on stage you don't want to you want
Yeah,
your head free or kind of not
exactly.
think about too many things.
Right.
And
Yeah, so that's
yeah.
that's the main thing, and then I have effects or knobs that I can
Mm-hmm.
affect at all parts of the song for the playthrough layer as well. So at in the beginning of the song, maybe it's like an intro. There might not be a lot for me to play, so that's where I'm doing like more knob stuff. But at any point in the song, I'm doing something, right? There's
Mm-hmm.
never a point where I'm kind of like waiting for my part to come in.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like just
And what's good
counting.
about the playthrough is that, oftentimes there are parts to play, but sometimes I just solo over parts. So, the song is a bit different each time, and I give
Mm-hmm.
myself the option to kind of go in and do that. Um, but yeah, I was just ramping up playing live shows. But then the pandemic happened, and obviously I had to like kind of pivot.
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah.
Mm. Okay. So and I guess I mean I've been to New York before, so I'm pretty sure there is clubs for who would you play with? I mean, because this is tough for. I mean, you be a tough bill, kind of to.
Maybe, but I mean, there's
Yeah.
actually a fair amount of experimental, you toss that term around
Mm-hmm.
again, but there's a lot of, venues that are more catering to more adventurous kind of stuff. Yeah, sure. Wouldn't really be good for a club environment, but it's also like, it's very contextual, right? Like if I'm going to play in a club type environment, I
Mm-hmm.
would probably have a completely different set, right?
Mm.
Like, I meant to post it yesterday, but I'm probably going to post it today for 420. It's like weed day here, right?
Ah, yeah,
Um,
yeah. I was like 420 is like, huh?
yeah,
Because in Germany it's 420 is also the birthday of Hitler. So
right,
Adolf
right.
Hitler. So it's kind of like here it means
Yeah,
something different.
yeah,
So.
of course. But anyway, like on, there was a rooftop venue that I played. Just, a friend invited me over and a couple of other musicians to play. And, I didn't play, this kind of stuff that's on my record. I kind of
Mhm,
created a completely new track.
mhm.
And that was what I did a little bit more improvisationally. And it was a bit more chill, probably people were smoking weed and they probably appreciated it more than some of my,
Probably,
da, da,
probably.
kind of stuff. So,
Mm,
you know.
mm. Yeah,
So I
but
think it's very venue and context
mm,
dependent. Like what is the function of the event and the night? What is
mhm,
the historical legacy of the venue, right?
mm,
So I think it's all based on that. But there's actually like a fair amount of adventurous venues that are kind of catering to the kind of music that I play.
mhm.
So
Okay, yeah, I don't know New York so well. I lived in Washington D.C. for a year, so it was not far away from New York. So I was there a couple of times, but only like day trips, basically. I think one. Anyway, it's back then, back then, it's a long time ago.
yeah,
Um,
before times.
yeah, with horse carriages and stuff. Nah, no, no,
Yeah,
no. But
I remember those days. No.
yeah, these good old days. Um, no, but what I wanted to say is, but this actually is, see, this is one of your strengths that you can kind of be club specific, and you see also very observant that you see what your audience is about, and if you're gonna go more this way or that way. I was also a DJ once for a club here in my hometown, and when you also, when you got the people dancing, you kind of stick with a program, kind of put similar songs in, and so yeah, and you are, see, this is one of your things, you can kind of adapt on the fly to what you're seeing. So that sounds actually quite good. But see, we have not. Maybe we should, before we leave, because I can feel my stomach. I'm getting hungry for dinner. Sorry, but so how did you target your audience? Because you said you had the problem that the guys you kind of compared yourself with were not really even how you say indexed
They wouldn't
by
even be up here. Yeah.
so
Yeah. So if you think about it, I would think like, if you thought of like a bolt, what do you call it? A dartboard, right? And, the artists that I mentioned are kind of at the bullseye. When that's not possible, you just have to kind of expand your reach, right?
you widen your search basically.
Yeah. Well, what's interesting too with me is that different songs have kind of different modes and feelings, right? So one song might be closer to one artist and another might be a different artist. So I'm not always running the same artist. So one of the artists that's performed really well for me is Skinny Puppy. Do you know them? They're like an industrial band.
That's my oeuvre. Of course, Skinny Puppy.
Yeah.
That's the pioneers of this EBM, industrial electro rock.
So they're indexed, but a band like Frontline Assembly is not indexed, which, again, that's really weird. Right? But,
that's weird. Frontline Assembly.
Because I almost put them at the same level.
Yeah, for me it would be the same. That's really weird.
Yeah. So anyway, like, and I was like, oh, that's interesting, because I don't really think that I'm doing like as hard industrial sounds as them, although some of the songs are kind of harder, but it's kind of like, fans of Skinny Puppy, they're into extreme music, right? And it's kind of like, they're not going to shy away from something that's really in their face or, super distorted or whatever. They're going to be like, yeah, that's what I want, right? They're really into that. And actually, I used 9 Inch Nails as well, who obviously has like a bigger reach, but sometimes the songs wouldn't do as well. And I was wondering about that too. And it's like, I think 9 Inch Nails, for example, you have people that like Downward Spiral era, right? Which is very different than what they're doing now.
That's true.
And of course, now they're doing soundtrack work. Like my girlfriend listens to the soundtrack work, right? And that's very different than their album material. So they're kind of a band that, has a wide spread as well. Also, if you think about them, they're kind of, when they perform, they're kind of like a conventional rock
normal rock
lineup,
band, normal rock band. Yes, yeah.
They're not really like a laptop show, So they kind of draw a lot from that kind of conventional rock sort of space. So maybe that's why the track didn't do as well, because it's more, my stuff is maybe more aligned to the studio stuff of Skinny Puppy than, the performative stuff of 9 Inch Nails. I don't know. It still does well. I was just really surprised that a band with, a smaller audience like Skinny Puppy, it would actually do better, but it's a bit more targeted,
I think so
the tips that I would give for people that are just trying to get into this space is like, everybody talks about A/B testing. You need to run multiple ads and see which ones sort of do better, right?
I would hate that.
Yeah. I mean, it's, and it's all just about optimizing, right? So let's say if you run an ad, it's one single ad and you get, 12 conversions off of it or whatever. Well, how do you know that it did really well? It could have been 20, it could have been 5, right?
That's
so you need something to kind of compare
testing. Yeah, I see. You need to have a benchmark, because you don't know when you start out. That's a good point. Yeah, I get it. But see, this already sounds to me like, this sounds really like work.
Right. Exactly. Which at point, it's maybe already flatlining. We're losing listeners.
No, it's I'm not caring for them. Well, one thing I would also ask you is, as you seem to have done a lot of research already, is you don't have a real video out or a visualizer for your music? I mean, it's quite tough because it's rather long. So, I mean, you have to cover a lot of more. And a normal video, like performance or something, would maybe not really suffice. But did you plan on doing something like this? Because also, don't forget, YouTube is a big audience as well, right?
Yeah, and actually, it's all just about cost benefit analysis
Hmm.
almost for me, right? Like I know that to do it right and with my sort of attention to detail, like I would have to probably spend a lot of money on that. And
Hmm.
it's kind of like, well, is that sort of worth it if I'm going to get like
Yeah.
50 or
Okay.
100 people?
Hmm.
It's sort of secondary to me. I'm not
Hmm.
against it.
Hmm.
Um, but I think like, the resources that and the money that I'm putting into the project every month would just be better spent on other things, right?
Hmm.
Like I'm considering putting up like merch right now, which is again very little like low buy-in, right? Like you
Hmm.
could set up a Shopify
Yep.
store and have stuff running, and again, it's like you only need a couple of fans to start
Hmm.
seeing a return on that. So, that's kind of where I'm at, because ideally I would like to get the business, because running a musician thing is a business. I'd
Hmm.
like to see that kind of actually make some money in terms of like the merch can pay for the ads, for example.
Hmm.
So that's kind of where I'm at right now. It's like in terms of, you talk about the marketing funnel, we're still at like awareness, where you're trying to get people to think
Yeah.
about the
Hmm.
project, and like the merch is all the way down at the bottom where you get people to buy stuff, right?
Hmm.
But
And I
I
also
mean,
think.
it's kind of
Hmm.
like, a lot of musicians maybe don't like to talk about the business end of it, but it's until you kind of monetize it and stuff like that, it is just a hobby right now, and
Hmm.
and obviously I'm enjoying putting it out, and there's other much more efficient ways to make money. This is not
Hmm.
about making money, right?
Exactly.
But
Yeah. No. This is a very inefficient way to make money. Let's.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, but it's like, I'm buying plugins, I'm buying
Hmm.
synthesizers and
Hmm.
equipment. It's this is,
Hmm.
you're sinking a lot of money into this, so it's kind of like you have to at a certain point look at the business end of it, I think.
Hmm. Hmm. By the way, I see this cool picture behind you,
Oh yeah.
and I mean this is a little bit mean because the podcast people who listen to it on a podcast we will not see it. So go and see the video on Shellshocked Radio Talk. Um, but yeah, can you say something about it because it looks quite cool.
Yeah, this is a painting by an artist named James Roper, Roper. I met him in Manchester,
Hmm.
when on one of
In
my
England.
European trips.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
cool.
He's a British artist. All of his stuff sort of combines architecture as well as like pop culture. There's a bit of a psychedelic element in all of his
Hmm.
works, I think, and this series, all of the works, it's really interesting, and maybe this is just my reading of it, but they're roughly the dimensions of a person, like the width and height.
Ah, okay, okay.
They're all these
Hmm.
kind of like, they're
Hmm.
almost like a totem pole.
Hmm.
So he's
Hmm.
very into this kind of like just a lot of really
It
kind
looks
of,
really sci-fi.
yeah, there's a lot of different
Yeah.
influences and stuff. Yeah.
Cool. No,
Yeah.
it's a cool picture. That's very nice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Um, okay. Yeah. So thank you very much for your time. I think we could do it again because I have a feeling we talked about so much, but we never really got into a depth of anything. So I hope.
Which is what you were saying. That's like what you're all about, right?
Yeah, but it's true. But usually I get a little bit more deeper. But yeah, I enjoyed it, and I hope also, of course, the audience will enjoy it. Um, yeah, I will link to your stuff, but maybe I will put you on. Usually I put in my calendar like in a year or something or half a year we can talk again and just check up on you and see how you are doing and the new things we found out and stuff. I can tell you more about NFTs for sure. Then but
Yeah,
let's
exactly.
see if this will be a worthwhile endeavor.
Yeah.
Um, yeah. So
Yeah,
thank
man.
you.
Anytime you want to talk, just hit me up. Let's do it again for sure.
Okay, cool. You wanna any last words for the audience? Anything you wanna share with them?
Yeah, well, I've got new music coming out every month. I just released my latest single is called New Cannons. You can find everything on metamyther.com. If you go from there, you can use it as a jumping off point to connect via socials or Spotify or whatever.
Yeah, I'm going to link to your Spotify account anyway.
Sweet.
Okay, cool. So thank you very much. I'm pretty sure we will talk again because this was very enjoyable, and next time we might be a little bit more focused or something, or next time we can even talk about your performances because you know, I think New York is slowly opening up or something.
We're going to be opening up. Yeah, I mean by the end of May, I think it's going to be. I think they were saying July 1st is going to be completely opened. You know, a lot of people have gotten the vaccines and stuff, and you know, more people are on the way. Now it's just, you can just walk in. You don't even need to make an appointment.
Perfect.
So I think hopefully also what that means is that,
you know, here in Germany, it's
well, yeah, I was going to say, like, hopefully what that means is, you know, by the time everybody here gets it, then we could start exporting doses of the vaccine to Europe and to the rest.
And India is hit at the moment as we record this. You know, today is April the 30th as we record this for the audience out there. India is hit pretty bad. Anyway, I wanted to, I should end on a good note. So anyway, things are going get up in New York, and that's cool. And next time we can talk about some live events you did, because I also like to ask, you know, what went wrong and what went good, and you know, funny stuff that happens there. We can talk about this maybe, and your experiences with your set and how you know, judge the room and judge the people what you want to play, because I think this is a really cool thing and it's a really live thing then. Okay, so thank you very much. Metamyther.
Yeah, you got it. Metamyther.
Metamyther, because the problem is we have also the German. There's a German word Mythe, and I want to always say the German word Mythos.
Like Metamyther, mother.
Yeah, no, it sounds similar for you, I guess, but Mutter and Mütter. Mutter is the singular mother, and Mütter is mothers, you know, the plural,
right.
And Mythen it's maybe I'm too bad in pronunciation, but anyway, Metamyther, is it right?
Yeah,
Metamyther. Okay, so Metamyther, thank you very much for your time, and I will talk to you in even better times.
You got it, man. Yeah, I had a blast. Talk to you soon.